Islam. And Jesus said, they put me in a tomb, and then I wrestled with the conquerors of men. I conquered death, stamped upon him and rose and brought immortality to light. Painted on the walls of time a rainbow for the sons of men. And what I've done all men can do. The gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined to the Jew or the Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime, and I'm here a demonstrator of the power of man. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer brought to us by the Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Jew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise to give praise to Allah. I'd like to give praise to Allah because Allah is the Father of the universe. And it is He, Allah, who sent us, Noble Jew Ali, in due time to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. I'd like to give honor to all of those and honor to all of you that have and will aid and assist us in this, our divine and gigantic mission, the uplifting of fallen humanity. At this time, I'd like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran that was divinely prepared by the Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, for our earthly and our divine salvation. I'll be reading from page 57, 45, 46, chapter 46. The title of the chapter is The Beginning of Christianity, and is read on this wise. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nation founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time, until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. The holy teachings of Jesus was to the common people, to redeem them from the great pressure of the pale-skinned hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich will not oppress the poor. Also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither will be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the 10th commandments. Through the 10th commandments, the rulers and the rich live while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace. But there is but one true and divine way that truth may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, being taught universally to all nations in all lands. Thus we just had a reading from the Moorish Holy Quran, divinely prepared by our holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, for our earthly and our divine salvation. Indeed, it's an honor, a pleasure, moreover a duty, to be able to come before you, our Portland listening orders, etc., to hear the teachings of the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Noble Drew Ali said he can't wake everybody up at one time, because if he did, he wouldn't be able to do anything with you himself. So what I want to do this afternoon, I want to go back over the lesson that I talked about on the last show. And we was talking about Ward Dean Muhammad. And we was talking about how Ward Dean Muhammad was the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and once the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed form, he took a portion of the Nation of Islam, and the other portion stayed with the other brother. But when he took the other portion, he started talking about things that was going on after and before his father passed form. So one of the things that he talked about after his father passed form, he was given some history about the Moorish Science Temple of America. And let me stop right here, because I think it's important for me to give this understanding, because most of the time when you hear people talking about Islam, they start talking about Islam after 1930. But I want to talk about Islam before 1930, but let me go back too far as I can go back through my history, is in 1913. And in 1913, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, from 1913 to 1930, when other people began to claim parts of the teaching of, as we say, Islam. But in 1913, the Holy Prophet received a revelation. And the revelation that he received was from Allah. And he was told to teach our people about their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. And at this time, in 1913, Allah bestowed this wisdom on Noble Drew Ali, telling him that in 711, the Moors went into Spain. And when the Moors went into Spain in 711 to give Europe civilization, to bring them out of the hills, to bring them out of the Dark Ages, the Moors stayed in Spain from 711 until 1492. And in 1492 was when the last stronghold of us Moors fell in Granada, Spain. And being that this is when the last stronghold, now we say 1492. Now we know what took place a few years after that when you go into 1500. Because 1492, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 15. And we know, I just read, the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. And it was Roman nation that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth, for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So now we're going back to 711 to 1492. But then, this is when the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and a lot of other things came into full manifest, because they was taking you, me, him, and her, taking her there, him there, I'm here, and you go over there. But at this time, too, what had to transpire during the Atlantic slave trade, we had to be taught another lesson. We had to be taught a lesson that we going to become Negro, colored, and black. But before the slave trade transpired, and right after, we was known as Moors. You can check the history out. You can go back to the Moorish Empire, the Moroccan Empire. This is talking about your father and your mother. But through the advent of slavery, this was taken away from you and me, giving it to somebody else. So Allah sent a brother who had the science and nobody else did. And the science that he had was to tell you, man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So Allah sent Noble Ali to restore back upon you and me our nationality and our divine creed. And when he did that, Noble Ali went to work. He went to work and he formed, the first thing he did was form 15 temples. He formed 15 temples, and he had a Moorish Science Temple of America. He moved the temple from Newark, New Jersey, and he moved it to Chicago. But this is where it gets tricky at, because everybody that's living now don't know anything about being Moorish. All you know about being Negro, about being colored, and about being black. Because man today is what his forefathers was yesterday. So now I remember they just had a St. Patrick's Day. See? And when you have a St. Patrick's Day, everybody is white. But on St. Patrick's Day, you say, hey man, you can call me white on any other day, because white means purity. And purity means God. And God means the ruler of the land, but you got to honor your father and your mother, that your days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. So on St. Patrick's Day, you can't call me white. You could only call me white on any other day, because on that day, I got to honor my father and my mother. I got to be who I am and not who you want me to be. So let me tell you something. I started school around 1955, around that time, 55, 56. And the school I went to was a school called John F. Cook. And John F. Cook was a school on North Capitol Street and Peace Street, right there in Washington, D.C., on the northwest side. Right on one side, northeast, the other side, northwest. But at that time, we was known as Negroes. Everybody in school with us, we was Negroes. It wasn't black ain't come yet. We were still Negroes, and when we identified with each other, when the teacher identified with each other, everybody was Negroes. And then later on down the line, you had a brother named Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King came, and when Martin Luther King came, he came with what is known as civil rights. And we know civil rights is a non-political issue. We're talking about a civil issue. We're not talking about the human issue right now. We're talking about the civil issue. Just like you got a civil court. You got the civil this, and you got the civil that. But before Martin Luther King gave us the NAACP. And the NAACP is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So now we're colored now. See, even though we went into Spain in 711 as Moors, stayed there to 1492 through the advent of slavery and everything, then we become Negroes. Now, when Martin Luther King came, I was down in Resurrection City. I remember I went down there, down to Capitol. I went down, I was moving there, went down there. We colored. We colored then. See, but now it's time for them to kill the civil rights leader. And when they kill the civil rights leader, then we become black. Negro, colored, and black. Let me reiterate that. If you remember, if you coming up and you heard them talk about the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, you thought you were doing something slick. You thought you was high and mighty and over somebody else, because now you know that you colored. You know, and when you say that you colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. So now, once the European got him out the way, Martin Luther King got him out the way. Now we could deal with this black thing. See, we're going to deal with this black issue now because everybody want to be black. But guess what? Let me stop here for a minute. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his son, Ward Dean Muhammad, just put the tape out. And when he put the tape out, he said that his father and all those who taught his father was followers of Noble Jew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Say they wore the fezzes. They wore the Moorish garments. They said that they wasn't Negro, colored, and black because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. And that we was brothers and sisters who had a nationality and knew that we was Moorish American because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America, and the Moroccans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So let me stop here again. I remember one time I went on Moorish Home #1. This brother right here, F. Nelson Bey. We want to talk about him too, because of when that car turned over, when him and German Bey was together. He's taught some stuff about this brother here, because see, really, the prophet told him just like he told the other brother, don't put them on that fez. See, everything transpired in the Moorish Temple of America transpired for reasons. Nothing happens by chance or accident. Divine law governs all events. So now what we're talking about when I went to the colony. And we had a meeting on the colony back in the day. And we had a meeting with the governors on the colony. This brother's son was there, Muhammad Nelson Bey. Page Year, a lot of people was there at this meeting. And one thing that this governor said to me in this whole meeting, she said we would have had brothers and sisters around like you brothers, they wouldn't have been able to get the prophet. See? So she taught us that they got the prophet because the prophet was teaching something that he wasn't supposed to teach. Just like when he went over in 28, when he went over in the east, when he came back, they said, where's that? Where's that? They want to know where's this information that he had, but it came from Allah. He put it in paper. Jew Ali put it in paper form. Just like in this book here. This is a book. And Noble Jew Ali gave us a lot of literature. He gave us a whole lot of different literature. And this book right here is known as the Moorish Literature Pamphlet. And in this Moorish Literature Pamphlet, it's very important because the Prince used to teach us this, is the prophet makes a plea to the nations. And the first thing he said was, our divine and national movement stand for the Pacific Grand Principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, I'm going to quote this in a minute, but let's get some understanding. Because it was told to me that I'm with the national side and I'm with the divine side. They say in the Moorish Science Temple of America, there's two different sides. There's a national side and there's a divine side. And you could choose whatever side you want to be, but if you say that you is a follower of the Holy Prophet Noble Jew Ali, you say our divine and national movement. Because he's teaching you about your nationality and he's teaching you about your divine creed. And we fail to realize that when Noble Jew Ali was on the scene, when Rome was coming at him, trying to get rid of him, and he's just coming back over from the east, he had to take certain things down, Moorish Home #1, to hide it, even though they were eating pork chop. So they could hide it, so today you and I will have this. So now you just know about the divine. You don't know nothing about your national. Or you might know something about your national and you don't know nothing about your divine, but one without the other is but half. This is why it's imperative that we understand the teachings of the prophet. That's just like, I was talking to these young brothers last week. They came by with Rambo Ill, and we was talking about the prophet. And I asked him, did they know who Jesus was? They said, yeah. I said, do you know who Jesus' father was? They said, yeah. I said, do you know who Jesus' mother is? He said, yeah. But I said, well, who is Jesus' mother's mother? He said, I don't know. But I said, but her name is Anna. I said, now, when you begin to talk about Anna and Jacqueline, who is her husband, you also have to talk about these two pillars, because you're talking about Jacqueline and you're talking about Boaz. And when you're talking about Jacqueline and Boaz, then you're talking about Ruth. You're talking about Ruth the Moabite. And when you begin to talk about Ruth the Moabite, you're talking about the house of David, and you're talking about all these other things that your father and my father came into manifest with. Why so? Because the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. When you begin to talk about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you're talking about the Asiatic nation. The only thing that come out of Europe was wheat and hay. Europe was not teaching our teachings at that time. They stole them, but they was learning them because we taught them for many years, because we was in Spain for many years. But when you begin to talk about heaven on earth, and when you begin to talk about the Moorish Science Temple of America, you're talking about Jesus. You're talking about Boaz. You're talking about Confucius. You're talking about the higher self, because in all the world, there were two things: the higher self and the lower self. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. We're talking about the harmonies of life now. And this is what Brother Ward D. Muhammad, Brother Ward D. Muhammad, when he came and taught these lessons to his members, to let them know that when you begin to talk about my father first, you got to understand that my father was the member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and everything that he got from Noble Jew Ali, and Allah gave it to him. So now we black. A man that had a nationality, a man that had a divine creed, a man that can trace himself back through his father and mother and from which he come, and now he taking money to tell you that you are not who your forefathers were. And this is why the Moorish Americans is going through the changes that we're going through. But the book did say a many called and only a few are chosen. See? And the prophet said this movement will go so low that you think it had vanished from the face of the earth. And then you're going to look up and see nothing but turban and fence. These Europeans don't know the day. They don't know the day. How people still going around saying that they are Moorish Americans. Out of all that they have done to you and me, we going around saying that we are Moorish Americans, saying that we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America, and these Moroccans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. We're taking you back to Africa. We're taking you back to your father and your mother. The higher self breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. Listening to a Holy Day service the last couple of weeks, one of the young sisters was out of Baltimore over there with Brother Eric Thompson Bey, and the other brother was a young brother, Fuquan Bey's son, Sheik Fuquan Bey. He's the governor now. And I'm laying back and I'm looking and listening to these two Moors teach. Because what they're doing is they're telling us we today who our forefathers were. And there's no one who can change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. But the brother's saying, what is going to take? What you need to do to overcome. We keep saying that we want to overcome, and we want to give our life a will and sacrifice, but when are you going to do it? I had asked myself that this morning. I said, when you going to give back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar? He said, it ain't but two self, the higher self and the lower self. And if you still in your lower self, it's only because you don't want to be in your higher self. You're going to go through many trials. You're going to go through many tribulations. But you can ready to go. But let me tell you something. And this is very important. The prophet Noble Ali said this when he was on the scene. He said, it ain't but one prophet, ain't but one temple, and ain't but one nation. And he said that if we're talking about reparation, and we're talking about dealing with the European nations and dealing with them in reference to reparation, the first thing we have to do is come back under one head like the prophet left it. You got to go back where you come from, and wherever somebody else was, they got to go back that, because this is how we're going to bring this back under one head like the prophet left it. Ain't but one prophet, ain't but one temple, ain't but one nation. Where did you come in at? Who was your grand sheik when you first come in? What are the lessons that you are teaching that ain't nobody else teaching? You don't have none. But the book said that when Ward Dean Muhammad told all of the members that they once was Moorish Americans. They said they were descendants of Moroccans and born in America. He said, my father told them to wear these garments because this is the garments of their forefathers. He said that you was a Negro, colored, and black. Like I say, when I first went to school, I was a Negro. Then, a little later, around then the NAACP come, then I'm colored. And then I'm black. What am I now? What am I going to be next? Now, we have a lot of brothers that's coming on social media. And when they come on social media, they're talking about, yeah, I hear you say that the Moors, and I'm getting that understanding that we are Moorish Americans. But if that's the case, where are the Moors? Well, they put you in the advent of slavery. Through slavery, you was Moors. We are Moors. And we're talking about that mindset, that mind you're looking for, that mind is in you. You are that mind. But man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. So that go for everybody. All of us that's running around here with our head cut off, calling ourselves black. The only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. Now, we understand that we went into Spain in 711 to 1492. We stayed in Spain over 700 some years. Quite naturally, we're going to multiply, replenish it, and do a lot of other different things. But the fact of the matter is, you're Moorish. And a lot of you brothers and a lot of you sisters who know it and beginning to see it now through history, you got to start calling yourself Moors, teaching that, and helping us get this reparation situation, sitting down with the Grand Sheik R. Jones Bey. I checked a lot of records. He checked a lot of records. And there's a lot of other brothers and sisters too. There's a whole lot of Moors that could be beneficial. I remember when I first got here to Portland, and there was a brother named Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Johnson, out of Philadelphia. And he was coming to Portland to teach about some issues dealing with agendas. And they denied him to come into the school system. So I heard about it, and I heard that the Nation of Islam had a meeting that night and let him come over there to teach. But what I did that same night, I went to the sources that be, and I said, okay, they're not allowing this brother to come on the show to teach. We got with this brother and applied some signs, and we had a meeting at the airport. And let him teach that gospel. The reason why I'm saying that is because all of us brothers and sisters, the mission is bigger than you and me. And those of us who are scholars, because all of you brothers I'm talking about now is a scholar. The brother who's talking about he know a Moorish, but where are the Moors at now? The Europeans downed us. You are that Moor. We're talking about DNA. We're talking about certain physics. We're talking about a lot of different things that's in you and me that we're rebuilding up. And the only way you can start doing that, the first thing you got to do is proclaim who you are. It's a man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Proclaim your nationality. That's the start. Then we can start dealing with our issues that's needed. Because all these brothers now is black, old, and dying. These young babies and sisters, you're going to die out. You're not going to live. If you keep saying, I'm a black man, black, according to science, means death. The only black flag I know is clean. Now, you look at a brother, he said, I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Sierra Leone. I'm from Ghana. I see them all in Washington, D.C. and New York, all of them black now. You no longer from Sierra Leone. You black now. So what you doing, you dead. You are not honoring your father and your mother. When you say you are from those West Africa countries, you are part of the slave trade. You Moorish. According to science, you are Moorish. Through scientific study and investigation, you are Moors. And until we understand who our forefathers were, we're going to constantly go through these trials and these tribulations that we're going through now. So this is why Allah sent Jew Ali, and this is why the Europeans had to knock Jew Ali down, because he's telling you that you are not Negro, colored, and black. He's telling you that you, man, today is what his forefathers were yesterday. We're telling you that through the advent of slavery, you was given titles such as Negro, colored, and black, putting you outside of the constitutional fold. So now how can you go and ask for reparation as a black man? Matter of fact, when we do this, we're going to do this collectively anyway. Because you just can't do it for one state. We're one nation of people. You're going to go from California and they're going to give you $100 and give you, no, there's something bigger than that. Because we got representatives that's going to represent this. Matter of fact, the Grand Sheik probably don't even represent it. One of his representatives is going to represent it. So we got a lot of work. I was looking at something today that had Fuquan Bey. Had him on there, and it had the little baby, young children on there. But all of them knew their nationality. This is what it's about. It's about teaching these lessons to our little ones that they might learn to love instead of hate. Telling them that they have a nationality. Telling them that they are who their forefathers were. Letting them know that they're not Negro, colored, and black. And when you call your children Negro, colored, and black, one thing you do is set them outside of the constitutional fold. So now we're going back again to Ward D. Muhammad. And like Ward D. Muhammad told all the people, because he said, you know, you AMM, America Muslim Mission, or you some other kind of name, but he wasn't even calling you black. He was calling you something else. Al-Islam, he calling you something else. He wasn't calling you black. He had that much intelligence, and then he was doing a lot of traveling in the East, and he had the literature that the prophet gave him. Don't think they didn't have the prophet's literature. Don't think that they don't know that they're not Negro, colored, and black, and they drew a lot of that from the prophet's teachings. Don't think that our people don't know that they're not Negro, colored, and black, and that when the prophet was sent by Allah with the proper methodology to teach us about our nationality and our divine creed, that's hooking us back up with the family of nations. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much land you got. Nationality is the order of the day. You are who your forefathers were. And the key to that is, people say, man, it ain't about no money. Yeah, you hung up in an illusion. Because you running around telling your children and my children that nationality is not important. But if there is a God, and if there's a God that lives, then don't you think that if we went through some things to the advent of slavery, which we did, and we didn't even know anything about our nationality. Allah didn't give that to everybody. He gave it to Noble Ali first. And when he gave it to Noble Ali came and Ali already had it. When they called that meeting over there, when Lynch-Bey was his interpreter, when they had that meeting over there, he had already told us then. He had already told us then. They was going to make their move anyway, though. They were going to kill the prophet and everything else. They already made their move. The prophet already told them they wasn't Negro, colored, and black. The man, that he already had the literature that was already out. So we knew man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. But they did everything they could because they got rid of the big chiefs. And he had somebody else. He's talking about you and me. And the blessing is that they thought that they had destroyed this movement. And right now, I'm looking at a brother I heard the other day, one of the twins. He said, man, I just got a book I just put out. Brother got so many books out. You can't destroy this now. You can't do it. Drew Ali said he going to make the European enforce his law anyway. So what transpired before, it can't happen no more. They thought it was going to be gone. But as a man unfolds, his God unfolds. And man, God today, tomorrow is not God. So we give honor to that brother. This thing been out, and just like I said, that sister said, man, that look what they done to our prophet, and we have brothers and sisters around. The only way that we're going to bring this movement back under one head like the prophet left it is everybody, you go back to where you come from. And if you ain't come from nowhere and you just heard somebody say something about you, Moorish America, you need to go join the Moorish Science Temple of America. Everybody running around here talking about the Moorish Science Temple, but let me tell you something. When you talking about joining the Moorish Science Temple of America, then who taught you? You have to be taught a certain way, certain thing, just like right in this lead, I just read it. The prophet said, our divine and national movement stand for the Pacific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the prophet Noble Drew Ali, I'm applying to all loyal, faithful Moors members and the American citizens to help him in his great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For he has suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know that all true and divine citizens are identified by national and national descent names in order to answer and apply to the free national constitution of the Free National Republic of the United States of America. The prophet Noble Drew Ali is going to help this national government. For without a free national name with the decent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of government in which you live. This is from your true and divine prophet Noble Drew Ali to all Americans and foreign sympathizers. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the founder. So when he told me this, I was looking. And I was looking at something that the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. And he was talking to us about chapter 1 and Act 1, and chapter 2 and Act 2, and Act 2 and Act 3 of the additional law. And every week, see, because in the Moorish Science Temple, you just don't hear them talking about Friday Holy Day. They have Tuesday meetings, they have Wednesday meetings, they have Sisters Auxiliary, they have a lot of different meetings, and there are different lessons that are taught. And some of the same things that might be taught in this meeting is not being taught in this meeting. And a lot of times you will hear brothers and sisters talking about the prophet, they still talking about stuff that they was talking about last year, but now the Grand Sheik got you focusing on something else. What is the subject matter? Where is the Grand Sheik in the temple that you are part of? Where are you going now? What are we doing? You still talking about the same thing that you did when you was up in Alaska or when you was somewhere over there? No. This is a new era of time now. You got to apply the right tools at the right time. Everybody talking about the tools of the workshop of the mind. But when you talking about the tools of the workshop of the mind, you got a lot of different tools. But you can't use a hammer when it's time to use a saw. You can't use a plane when it's time to use a chisel. You have to use the proper tool at the proper time. So you got to be on the same wavelength as those Moorish Americans that's with you. And those Moorish Americans that's with you are those that are in accord with what the prophet teaches. What are you doing? What have you been? So this is why I wanted to read this, because we was in a meeting and brother said he with one side, and another brother said he was with this side. But Drew Ali bought both sides. And if you ain't with both sides, then you're not with Drew Ali. Because you can't serve two masters at the same time. You got to love one and despise the other. And I'm saying both sides, national and divine. This is why nationality is the order of the day. And when you talking about nationality, you talking about your forefathers. Everybody want to talk about Jesus now. They want to say that Jesus was a European. Jesus was not a European. When you begin to talk about Jesus, you talking about Asiatic. The whole world was called Asia at one time. See? Now they got Asiatic and European. And everybody that was studying the teachings of Jesus was Asiatic. And everybody else European. When you begin to talk about the slave trade, everybody that was a part of the slave trade, what was their nationality? It was a European. And we know this for true. But you could change the records around like you want to. And we talking to the Asiatic because you and I are in violation. We say that we love Allah. We say that we love the prophet. We say we want to do the right. But we talking about somebody else that's doing the same thing that we doing. We say that we love Allah and the prophet, but you can't love Allah and the prophet and not do what Allah and the prophet say. And this is what we would have to listen again. Because them young brothers, I heard them, Fuquan-Bay, them little young brothers got on the podium, and they say, you keep talking about you trying to overcome and we got to overcome. You could do this overnight. All you got to do is say, get behind me, Satan. The only strength Satan have is the strength that we get at him. The lower self is strong. Yeah, he bound down by many tides. He said, but have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice? When I should stand before the face of man and they demand the proof of my messiahship, what would I say? And then the tempter came and said, if you be the Son of Allah, command these stones to turn to bread. And Jesus said, who is it that demands a test? It is no sign that one is Son of Allah because he does a miracle. The devil can do mighty things. Did not the Gentile magicians do great things before the Pharaoh? He said, my words and deeds in all the walks of life shall be the proof of my messiahship. Everybody got to go through all the ways of life. Everybody going to grow. Everybody going to meet trials and temptations. But who you was yesterday don't have to be you today. As a man unfold, his God unfold. Man God today, tomorrow is not his God. So now we see the young brothers and the young sisters coming up. Let them old dudes go. Let me meet you with them. We old. You could carry this on. You could do Drew Ali's work. Because basically, the brothers and sisters almost, still a few left, that we knew anyway, wasn't around when the prophet was here. Most of them, I don't know nobody now. I know they got children that was around. You know, but a lot of them ain't around as the prophet said. But the prophet left his footprint clearly cut, which all could see and be assured that he, the prophet, went that way. You want to get with everybody? Get one of these, the Moorish literature pamphlets. Study it. This whole booklet right here, is everything that's in here is what Noble Drew Ali bought us. You ain't even got to worry about nobody else right now. Study the prophet for yourself. He said, know thyself. He didn't say nobody else. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. See? There's true selves. And the first one is you got to overcome is that one within yourself. Say, get behind me, Satan. Say, the lower self is strong, but get behind me. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So our teachings are a little different than anybody else's because we're not just talking about Jesus. We're not just talking about Muhammad. We're not just talking about Buddha. And we're not just talking about Confucius. We're talking about nationality also as the order of the day. And man got to proclaim his nationality. Because everybody have a nationality except the so-called Negro, colored, and black. Most of the people that I come in contact with, say they went to college. And they say they got a college degree. And when they say they got a college degree, it depends on how old they are. Some of them say they're Negro. Some of them say that they're colored. And some of them say that they're black. And some of them say that they're Afro-American. But we know Africa is a continent, a big continent. What nation in Africa do you represent? Because you got to understand, we talking about the slave trade. We talking about different eras of time. We talking about the 14th and 15th century. When did the slave trade transpire? What took place with us as a people during this era of time? We got work to do. I'm looking at now. They're talking about the election. And everybody's talking about everything. But anybody talking about what transpired with the Moors during the advent of certain things. But we know, but when the Queen just passed, and their sons and them took all that money, and they was given all that money, it belonged to me. It belonged to you. You went somewhere, took everything from there, gave it, and spread it from you, and there we crying. We crying. We ain't got to say nothing. Silent Brotherhood don't even speak. They march and countermarch. All you have to do is come back under your vine and fig tree, deal with what the prophet said, and every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs as long as they're in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet in the Grand Temple. So now, I used to be with Mo. Now I used to be with Joe. And we don't get along no more, but I still can't go and form my own thing. Because you already say every subordinate temple. So all I have to do is stay right there with the temple that I'm with, do the work of the prophet, because if you can't get along with me, then form your own temple. But we got to get together every convention. Every convention, we got to come together and talk. And talk about building and coming back under one head and bringing the people, because the youngsters are going to do it. But all of us is a part of it. And we thank Allah for it. We thank Allah for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish American prayer. We're looking at that. These youngsters today had no idea that before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before him, they knew nothing about him being a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. They had no idea. They had no idea that before they became the Nation of Islam, they was Moorish Americans. That Noble Drew Ali found the first Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey, for the express and profound purpose of uplifting fallen humanity, teaching those things necessary to make our members better citizens. Now, what is there that would teach our people those things necessary? It's telling you that man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father, unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So we talking about nationality now. We talking about taking things to another level, and all we talking about is having this European to give us some finance when we should be talking about being who our forefathers were. Because all that's going to come under you anyway. It say man today is what his forefathers were yesterday, and that there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. As long as we stop worshiping under our own vine and fig tree, the spirit ain't gonna hit us. The spirit got to hit you. That's why when you see brothers and sisters that's going through trials and tribulations like we all have and are, is because we still have not given our spirit. See, there's a spirit. There's a spirit in him. There's a spirit in him. Oh, spirit, oh man. You have to actuate and direct the flesh. You got to talk to Allah. See, the nearest place to meet Allah is in the heart. And we're not talking about the heart that pump blood. We're talking about the heart of the mind. And the mind is all over. The mind is in you, and the mind is in me. And in a still small voice, he speaks. The preachers used to teach that back in the day, when they used to talk about this little light of mine. See? And he said, this little light of mine, he's talking about the higher self. And when you let your higher self shine, then the higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmony of life. And it breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. Can the higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is a law in man. What do the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. So now, he want to open up a temple today. And we need to open up 1 million. But no matter how many you open up, we got to come back under one head like the prophet left it. So we can start dealing with these issues, because you have a lot of brothers and sisters, they're going to be gone in a little while. Some right now in the 90s and 80s and 90s, they get ready to go. And soon you leave, your name is going to die in history. And the reason why your name going to die in history is because you are who your forefathers is not. You calling yourself now that you are Negro, colored, and black. One without the others but half. When you say Negro, colored, and black, that's the 3 steps. All y'all together. Because that's in your Constitution. In 1913, when Noble Drew Ali gave the Moorish Americans the divine constitutional bylaw, the Disher law, the questionnaire, and all these laws, you know what he had in there? Now this was before you start calling yourself Negro, colored, and black. And then you start calling yourself so-called black. But before we start calling ourselves black, and it's in the records, see? It's in the records. And all of you that start following with those people, you know it's in the records. It's in the records that you're not Negro, colored, and black. And before you start calling yourself that, in 1930, 1929, all those names was already given to you. Noble Drew Ali gave us this lesson in 1913. When he left Newark, New Jersey, and went to Chicago, everybody had this literature. It's all in the street. And they was getting paid off to tell the people that they wasn't Asiatic Muslims, they was not Moorish Americans, they was not descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And the Moorish Americans are not descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. I placed it on social media the other day, where they was talking about how the government was paying certain brothers and sisters. Oh, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Europeans ain't did nothing to us, because we are our worst enemy, and we are our best friends. So we have an obligation, not to our grandfathers. We have an obligation to our babies. We have an obligation to the children, because we have to live through them, through the teachings that they have. All you have to do is just give it to them. You heard what the Ward D. Muhammad just said. He said, my father told me this. He said, my father told me this. My father told me that I was a Moorish American. My father told me that I was a Negro, colored, and black. And now you calling yourself black when you know black, according to science, means death. If there was a flag of our forefathers, where is that flag today? And if that flag was taken down, where was it taken down at? And where is it? It said Morocco got its independence March 2nd, 1956, from under the French rule. So now we talking about a French flag in Morocco. We talking about Morocco, and we talking about a French flag. The Moroccan flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And the 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But we talking about a French flag. Now, how did the French flag become your flag? If your flag is the French flag, then where's my flag? because the Moorish flag is the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. And I heard, like I mentioned last week, I heard Barack Obama and I heard Hillary Clinton. They was teaching in the White House. And they was teaching about how you begin to talk about Morocco. And Morocco was the first country on earth that had a treaty with the United States. So let's look at this again then. If Morocco, that Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama taught, saying that Morocco was the first nation that had a treaty with the United States, we got to look at that again. We got to look at that real good, because we talking about French and we talking about Africa. So, you know, there's some things that we got to look at again. There's some things that we have to study again. I remember Dr. Umar Johnson just put a book out and suggested that we all get a copy of it. And I remember when the Sheik had us teaching the same book a little while back. Same thing with the book I have here on so many different books, so many lessons that we have to learn, so many lessons that we have to teach. Because if you begin to talk about you this age and you that age, we got to leave some things here for our babies. We have to leave things here for our babies, because right now they don't have the lesson. You running around telling your children that they black. You running around telling your children that they colored. You running around telling your children that they're Negro, but through the advent of slavery, like a lot of my friends. You know, some call themselves Hebrew, some call themselves Hebrew Israelite. But when you talk about the Hebrew Israelite, they are the Moors. Check your history. It ain't strange. There are no happenings. Those were some of our strongest fighters when we was in Europe, defending this gospel. And they right now is some of the strongest spiritual brothers that I know. I with one this a couple of days ago, talking about that gospel. And it's an honor, because he's talking about his forefathers. He's talking about the spirit of our forefathers. We are being taught that the Spirit of God is not in us. See, but when you begin to talk about your father and my father, this is who gave you the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God was taught to you through them. Man ain't the body nor the soul. He's a spirit. It's not in flesh to think. It is not in bones to reason. My flesh don't do my thinking for me. My bones don't do my reasoning for me. The bones don't even reason. The flesh don't even think. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So I'm always honored, pleasured, just like it's my duty to come before my Portland listeners to talk to you about the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. At this time I recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Wade in the water, wade in the water, Marlin, wade in the water.